So hello and welcome to the new video. If this is your first time seeing this video, there is an original build guide in the description. Click the first link and move to that. This is an updated version for people who are actually already playing the normal version, and you just need to have some kind of update. So at this point I have a mageblood, so I'm just like a speedy killing machine, and I just run over the content, you know, with double the speed that my original POB had with the starter version. As usual, you have a lot of timestamps that are like touching on specific topics that I got some comments from my previous video, so I'm trying to just incorporate them into this video so you can get some general answers. Overall, at this point I would say the build is completed. There's gonna be no more updates, no more POBs, nothing like that. You're simply getting your last POB and have fun. Any other improvements, you're on your own, and you have to play around with the build yourself. So this section of the video is going to be general updates that you can do as a non-mageblood version, as a mageblood version of the build. I'm just going to say like this: if you cannot afford a mageblood, generally speaking, my original POB that I left is, I would say, it is so good that it's hard to improve that base build. And I know a lot of people are having great time with that and they want to improve. Unfortunately, the situation with that POB is the POB is, I would say, well optimized for general public people to copy and paste and play the build. That is very hard to improve, and when you're gonna be improving, you're just doing minimal things. And here's what you can do. If you don't have the forbidden rite with the socketed level 1 something, there's two like reasonable price possibilities. One is the concentrate effect, and second one is crit damage. Let me just go to the Lilith. Where is it? Crit. Generally, conk and crit in the POB, they give you roughly the same amount of damage. The difference, I mean, why crit is a little bit better, because it doesn't lower your AoE. But if if the concentrate effect, let me just check the market, if it's one divine currently on the market, and let's say crit is about, I don't know, 4 to 5, I would just go with the conk, because it is way cheaper. I did level up a couple levels, so I can show you what kind of points you can put on. Those 2 points over here, they are quite good, because they give you nice amount of energy shield, and you get some energy shield on kill. Great for mapping, or pretty much that's it. Over here, crit multi, why not? Some extra damage. The jewel socket over here is quite good. Don't look on my jewel socket. This is, that's for the mageblood version. If you don't have it, you would just socket something like crit multi, like increase maximum energy shield, or maybe like stats, or maybe like resistance and so on. This jewel can be a little bit more flexible, so you could respect those 2 points if you still have them. If you don't, that's like a different thing. One thing that I want to mention with the passive tree: don't go over here. The wither effect is nice if you click it, because I have my POB set it up that I have 15 withers, but realistically speaking, you're not gonna be applying 15 withers on most of the mapper, like while mapping. Mostly you go between 4 to 5, maybe 6, and everything just dies. The 15 withers are mostly on the bosses, so I would not recommend going into this path. There are other nodes that you can pick up. So that's for the passive tree. Gear wise, if you're playing on a non-mageblood version, there's pretty much the only thing that you could improve is the Aegis. Aegis are full-born Aegis Aurora. Now you're gonna be paying a premium price just for the modifier that you cannot take reflective damage. And that will put you into a position when the only breaking modifier on the map is the cooldown recovery. Would I recommend paying 38 or 32 divines just for this shield? I would say, if you have too much divines and you just want to upgrade the build, sure, why not? But generally speaking, it is too much divines just for the one modifier. So in my original guide I got a question: do I need to buy an imperial scan, whatever you pronounce it, dagger? The answer is no. Any rune dagger will work. Actually, you can go below that base one below. That's the royal thing, and you just have a little bit lower attack speed. I understand that the highest base now costs 10 divines, but when I was creating that build, the base only costed 1 divine. So that's why I recommended that, since the dagger was quite cheap, and unfortunately it is no longer cheap. So you have to go one below base or any rune dagger for that fact, because you just need caster mods, and you're gonna have to balance your own crit and attack speed. So that's something that you can do. So is that the last breakpoint on the custom crit achievable on the occultist? For the short answer, I would say no, and stay away with it, because you're gonna fall in the rabbit hole of buying clunky items. And the longer answer, yes, it is possible, but for the vast majority of the people it is impossible, because that requires a very specific items, and there's not much of them on the market. And generally stay away from that idea. The 7.5 should be good enough for you. So this section of the video is specifically designed for people who have a mageblood. If you do not have a mageblood, I would advise you to leave the video right now, and thank you for that. Because if you try to implement any solutions from this section of the video on your non-mageblood version, you will break the build, you will have a bad time, and then you're gonna leave me some angry comments. And unfortunately, you have been warned. This is not a section of the video for people with no mageblood. Now, this is a mageblood version of the build. Not only you need to have a mageblood, but you need to have at least, I would say, 45 to 55 divines, or a little bit more or less, depends on the prices of the market, or do you gonna craft things for yourself. Because there are other things that you have to buy or craft or attempt to craft to do some changes. So let's start. You have a mageblood, cool, right? Move on. Bottle Fate is still a good flask. Now you have a granite flask, standard mageblood flask that's as effect, armor. Move on. Then you have a silver flask, effect, cures reduction. You need that. I think it has to be on 55, because you just have to do the math exactly. Then have a quicksilver flask with effect, additional resistance. And then we go to the last flask. This flask is gonna be entirely dependent on your dagger. I have a basalt flask with increased effect, and have a rarity. It comes down to this, because I have a lot of crit chance on my dagger. I have a spell damage, I have a crit chance, and I have a crit chance for spells and for my weapon. And I have a multi, and hits cannot be evaded. Personally, I did not craft this dagger. I bought it for 2 divines. It was just, in my opinion, it was such a great deal. When I wanted to craft my own dagger, I spent about 7 divines, and I didn't get anything like that. So, this was a good deal. Now, you can craft this dagger by simply getting yourself some kind of good base of a dagger. It has to be a rune dagger, because the rune dagger can, you can have spell, it's like spell damage, spell crit, and so on. So what you could do is this: have your remove the rarity from the basalt flask, have a crit, like you increase critical chance during the flask, whatever the modifiers is exactly named on the flask. And then what will happen, the only modifiers that you're looking on your dagger is the spell damage, it's a crit multi, and then hits cannot be evaded. And the rest of the modifiers, whatever you get, it's just like a extra thing. So the boots, you're gonna be buying the cooldown recovery from your on your boots. I have a tailwind and cooldown recovery because I wanted tailwind just to get a little bit more movement speed and be a little bit faster. Do you need tailwind? Not necessary. You could get your attack speed from other sources, but the tailwind gives me a little bit movement speed as well. So I would recommend the tailwind and the cooldown recovery, but the bare minimum is the cooldown recovery of 14%. It can be higher, but it cannot be lower. The 14 is the bare minimum. And one thing that, because I bought those for about 10 divines, maybe 12, I don't exactly remember, but I have on those boats, I cannot be 100% to chance to be avoid from the chills. That actually gave me a thing that I don't have this, I don't need to have this on my ring, because in my original PvP I had the chill reduction on my ring, so I no longer need that, and I have a free suffix, so I can craft myself like some stats, you know, damage, whatever. I have like chaos damage just for, you know, extra damage. My amulet is pretty much the same thing, just, you know, force of darkness, you know, not much change over here. Then the ring. Since you have a mageblood and you have the curse reduction, and this gives you 100% curse reduction, you still need the dexterity and the maximum energy shield, but now you can go into synthesize implicit when you have 6% increased spell damage per power charge, and have some, you know, chaos damage as well. But that can be only done on the mageblood version because of this flask. Otherwise, the gloves are the same, the shield is the same, my virility is the same, the chest is the same. The gear-wise, it's pretty much the same thing. Now, what's gonna happen when you transition into a mageblood version? You're losing corrupted blood immunity, and that's a bit of a problem, because there's two possibilities to do. One would be buying yourself a small cluster jewel with the reservation 2 points and try to craft it, because you have 3 auras, so you have zealotry, determination, and discipline. So you would just alt spam until you get, like, you know, whatever aura. You would just exalt just to fill up all of the modifiers, and use the Val Orb just to corrupt it, and you might be lucky enough to get corrupting blood cannot be inflicted on you. Let me just tell you, I tried to have that multiple times. As you can see, this is all of the jewels that I tried to craft this way, and I didn't get a corrupting blood. So, you know, maybe you're gonna be more lucky than me, but, you know, that's how it is. It's RNG. Now, there is a possibility that you can take those 2 points and just have yourself a corrupting blood jewel over here. Like, I have some spell damage, chaos damage, and corrupting blood. But generally speaking, I would rather have corrupting blood over here and save up 3 points for something else. But, you know, for now, I need to have this. So I played around with the possibility of having a mageblood with 3 flask instead of 4 flask. And that's, yes, this can actually work. Because what would happen if you have a 3 flask version of the mageblood, since the 3 flask is twice cheaper than a 4 flask, what would you do is actually you drop down the basalt flask and you can use another flask for the damage. And there's a couple possibilities. There's a Witchfire Brew. Generally speaking, this will give you the most amount of damage of any unique flask that you can do. But this flask has a unique downside as well. There are monsters that cannot be hex, you know, they have a hexproof mob. So if you encounter that mob, the flask is simply disabled. That's one downside. And the second downside, you would have to respect some points, like from here, maybe from Jewel Socket, whatever, and you would have to go into the Whisper of the Doom over here. Or you could have, like, you know, a lot of luck and go to the temple, take your amulet, and have a +1 cures on your Whispers of Infinity. You know, that's another thing. Not only that, you would have to have an exact, like, very similar dagger to mine, such as, like, you know, the crit chance for spells and crit chance for your weapon, if you're gonna be playing the 3 flask version of the mageblood. Now, even if you don't want to use the Witchfire Brew, there's a couple other other flasks that you can use. Let me just find a dying sun. Let me just remove this. Yes, Dying Sun is a possibility. Just don't be one of those people that you put the Dying Sun in the POB, you click it, and oh yeah, the damage goes up. This is not how Forbidden Rite works. I'm not gonna be explaining that. You're already in the sweet spot of 5 projectiles. This might give you the damage, it might not. Another possibility of the flask would be Oriat, I think, yeah, for the explosions, the explodey flask. So that's a possibility as well. Probably someone is gonna ask, is something like melding of the flesh is possible? Yes, it's possible. You could socket a melding, let's say like over here or whatever. Then you would have to get rid of the basalt and granite flask. Then you have to do sapphire for maximum cold resistance and bismuth for more resistance. But at this point, for me, the build is completed. I'm happy with it, and I'm not gonna be improving. There's gonna be no more POBs. You pretty much get the last POB, and that's it. Because I want to move on to like different things rather just improving one build. If you got this far in the video, thank you for watching, and I will see.